Nicole, order at 7:30. Roll call, William Johnson.
Here.
Thomas Graffinino.
Here.
Lynn Colligan.
Here.
Lisa Kreckler.
Here.
And Diorio is also here. Also present, we have Tim Hill, a CBA attorney. First order of business is to review and approve the September 17, 2025 minutes. Can I have a motion to approve?
Okay.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye. All right, we have, first up on our hearing agenda, we have a resolution that's for 9 Clinton Avenue. Christina, will you read us a synopsis of that, please?
Application by Peter O'Connell for an area variance and special permit at 9 Clinton Avenue, Shelter Island, New York, Suffolk County Tax Map 5-2-36. This is a type 2 action and no further secret review is required. Applicant is seeking to undertake certain renovations to an existing dwelling, construction of habitable basement involving expansion of existing footprint for 4-window egress, conversion of an existing porch to enclosed habitable space involving expansion of footprint, construction of a new patio, and expansion of the second floor deck. Proposed renovations would require variances and special permit approval from Zoning Board of Appeals. The application submitted a revised traffic, parking, and equipment staging plan, and the resolution of the board is to approve the request for area variance from the requirements of the Town Code Section 133-6B5A and B for front and rear side yard setback in connection with the basement window installation, the first floor addition, and proposed patio. For area variances from Town Code Section 133-6B3A and B, building and impervious surface lot coverage, and for special permits for expansion of prior nonconformities, first floor addition and second floor roof deck, all as indicated on the submitted plans. The foregoing approvals for both variances and special permits are granted solely upon the condition that all work is performed in conformance to the submitted plans, included but not limited to the revised parking plan.
Can I have a motion to approve the resolution?
I'll make a motion. I'll second it.
Okay, we'll do a roll call vote. William Johnston.
Yes.
Thomas Graffinino.
Yes.
Lynn Colligan.
Yes.
Lisa Kreckler.
Yes.
And Phil Diorio votes yes. The resolution carries 5-0. Right, next up, we have 3 applications. The first is 23 Tuttle Road. That's Matheson, with a continuation from July. Mr. Matheson, you're here, I see. Would you like to present?
Sure, thank you very much. And first, Chairman Diorio, thank you for reopening the hearing. I appreciate it. Thank you to the board for doing that. I wanted to let you know that I do have Bailey Larkin here from John Bennett's office, who's also present. And I sent a letter. I hope you all had a chance to read it. And it was just to share some additional thoughts. I didn't, obviously during the work session, I couldn't do that. I couldn't respond to some of the comments, so I wanted a chance to do that. But once again, I really appreciate the thoughtfulness that you've all shown in considering the pros and cons and the different things you have to consider in this. I was on the ZBA for 6 years, so I'm very familiar with the process. And I don't want to take up a lot of time. I don't need to review the whole letter. I guess I'd just like to highlight a couple of things that I think get to the heart of the matter in terms of why I think this is a reasonable request, and I hope that the ZBA will see fit to grant my request and application. First is that the accessory structure, to me, this is a very kind of light touch by using an existing building that's been there since at least the mid-70s. It's had a bathroom for as far as I know since the mid-70s. This is a very light touch way to meet my goal of trying to have a little bit more room there inside by essentially restored a 3-bedroom, 3-bath house. And the good news is it came out very nicely. The bad news is that it's still a 3-bedroom, 3-bathroom house. It's a small house. This gives me a little more flexibility if I have family or friends and guests and so on. It's likely to be very rarely used as a bedroom, probably only in the summertime, if that. But it gives me some flexibility, which would be really helpful. But the good news is that this is a better alternative, I think, in terms of the impact on the community, on the neighborhood, on neighbors. It's better than building a second accessory dwelling and doing it within code, because then I could build a much bigger accessory structure with a much bigger, potentially apartment size room that could fit more people, would be an additional kind of eyesore potentially for the road on South Grand Island Drive, for the neighbors, et cetera. This, to me, since there's going to be zero change to the external part of the structure, there's no increase in size, we're not changing the visual look of it at all. It's really just use in a very limited way. And to me, given the town's goals of keeping the impact on our neighbors light, to me, this is the best way to achieve that, rather than me having to down the road build a new accessory structure. That's it. Once I do this, that's the only accessory structure I can have with dwelling, with a dwelling quarters, right? I couldn't build a second one. This would kind of eliminate that possibility, unless I guess I was willing to forfeit it down the road. Second is that, I think if you look at the 5-part test, I understand that the first element is one of the most important, which is what's the impact on the character of the neighborhood and on the neighbors. And I think in that way, the touch is really light. There's going to be no visual change. There's nothing inherently loud about somebody sleeping in the cabana. And the fact that I've got letters of support from my neighbors to the immediate left and right and directly across the street, I think should be some evidence that the impact is going to be light, and there's no concern from the community, and at least among those neighbors, there doesn't seem to be a perceived impact or reason that this would cause a disruption to the community. I also think in terms of the precedent issue, and I know the 5-part test is supposed to be the main thing, but I know precedent is also important. It'd be very hard to replicate this situation. It's a very small cabana, and the cabana itself is outside the 20 feet, and so that's a special situation I think you could use to distinguish this from anybody who comes down the road and tries to do something similar. I don't think the idea of a Home Depot shed, I understand the generic concern, but I don't think that would ever be approved. It has to go through. It has you guys have code regulations. The building department would never approve a Home Depot shed, so I don't think that's a realistic threat. So I think that this is a pretty unique situation that should allow you to distinguish this and not necessarily worry about inviting a whole slew of these kinds of applications going forward. And then the other thing, and I alluded to it already, and I think this is more or less the last thing I'll say, but I think what I'm proposing means a net lighter impact than what the alternative would be, which would be for me to build a new accessory structure, adhering to all the code setback requirements and so on. And so I would think that the town would want to encourage that. And then finally, just if you look at the test of weighing the benefit to me versus the impact on my neighbors, to me, I think it also makes a pretty strong case for approval, because this would be enormously helpful to me. I have a small house, and it gives me a little bit more flexibility, and the impact to the neighbors, at least based on the letters and kind of what I'm proposing, I think is pretty de minimis. And so I'm hoping, considering all that, you guys will be sympathetic and see this as a pretty, as far as impacts on the island are concerned, and of course there's many very serious ones, but this is a pretty minor one. I hope you agree it's a pretty minor one. So once again, I appreciate the consideration. I would welcome questions or any concerns if you have of them. I'd be happy to answer questions or what have you. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. Have you considered putting a small addition on your house if what you're looking for is another bedroom?
I think I would have setback problems. I don't know if you had a chance to go and visit, but on one end, on the west end of the house, I'm literally 5 feet from the neighbor's property. On the east end of the property, it's kind of a long, single-story house. On the east side, I think I'm just less than 20 feet from the line, so it'd be hard for me to do that. If I had more money, I would have built up. And if I really had more money, I would have knocked the whole thing down and built a different kind of house with 4 or 5 bedrooms, and I wouldn't have had this issue, but I just didn't have the money. to do more than just renovate and improve on the existing footprint that I had and that I inherited.
And when you bought the house, were you aware of what the prior owners had applied for and
Yes.
and gotten variance for?
Yeah, and I was aware of the fact that they had applied, because they really, if you just look back on the record, they just applied to get the bathroom legalized, because the bathroom had never been permitted. And so you guys issued, not this necessarily exactly this composition of the board, but the then board issued a 1-year set of variances conditioned on them upgrading the septic system to an IA system. But they never, ever even raised the issue, let alone applied for having it be a dwelling. And so that's why, and that's one of the points I made in my letter, as I know that was raised a little while, these guys have been here already and we've gone through this already, but they never made an argument for or requested.
I mean, it was never you that had come here before.
What's that?
It was never you that had come here before. You know, you said those guys had come here before, but there were prior owners.
Yeah, they were prior owners, right, but when they came to you, they really just came to ask you to legalize the bathroom, and you effectively said yes, as long as you upgrade the IA system.
And there was one other condition, right?
There was like 4 conditions.
Okay, but the main one was that it would never be turned into sleeping quarters.
Right, and so I guess my kind of counter argument to an argument that I think that you, Chairman DiIorio, made in one of the work sessions is that, yes, that's true, but the board imposed that despite the fact that the applicants, the former owners, had never asked for that. And from my reading of the transcript and the record, there wasn't really a debate about the pros and cons of doing that. So you imposed it, and I get that maybe you just thought, all things equal, let's be cautious and let's restrict as much as we can what they're allowed to do. But to me, there wasn't really ever a debate, and they didn't ask for it. And so I guess I'm coming saying, this is a new application, and yes, I'm asking you to legalize the bathroom. That's a kind of baseline, but I have a different view, which is it would be very helpful to have sleeping quarters be allowed there. And so, so this hearing was the chance, I think, to have the debate about that particular issue, because it wasn't really addressed.
Okay, and you said, you like some guidance if this is unacceptable, I guess if, in your letter, you referred, I almost want to call it some horse trading that you see go on in Sag Harbor, right? A little back and forth, discussion and responding and that kind of thing, right? And more or less, right?
I'm not sure I'd characterize it as horse trading. It's a way for the ZBA to reduce the scope of what the applicant is asking for, if they're asking for something that is going to have a clear impact and not kind of meet the 5-part test. But it's a way for the ZBA to say to the applicant, listen, in the end, it's okay for you to make some changes and even seek some variances, but within reason. And we don't think that yours is kind of within reason. So there's a back and forth saying, and then ZBA will never say, do this, do that, but they'll indicate what the problems are, and then the applicant comes back and makes some changes. So yes, of course, if you guys are strenuously opposed to this, I would be very interested in having a conversation about what alternative version you guys would.
Well, would you be amenable to, if this wasn't going to be granted, would you be amenable to something similar to what was approved in, I think it's 2019, but don't quote me on the date.
Well, I mean, I'm assuming that as a minimum, you guys will approve the variances you approved in 2019. But I'm really here because I'm seeking, to me, that's kind of a given, nothing's changed, other than I've met the condition of upgrading to an IA system. So I am assuming, maybe I'm being presumptuous, I am assuming that as a baseline, you guys would approve legalizing the bathroom, which is what all that they had asked for. But no, my main goal here is to expand the sleeping capacity in a very light way for seasonal use for this cabana structure. So that's that is my goal. And so that's what I'm hoping we can have a conversation about, if for whatever reason you decide you can't see fit to approve it. But just simply giving me the variance that they got in 2019 that's not what I'm hoping happens here.
I
Not
understand.
your problem, but I spent an enormous amount of money to hire, because apparently it's a very formal process. You have to hire the lawyers to go through stuff that I could probably have done myself, but the message I've gotten from the town is you gotta go through a third party. And it's just been enormously expensive. So to come at the end of this and just have the bathroom that's been there for 40 years legalized is my only kind of win, it would be disappointing, to say the least. And again, I understand it sounds like you've got some concerns, but to me, it's like, at the end of the day, is this gonna have a big impact on the community? I don't think it is, so I'd love to know what the specific concerns are.
I mean, my specific concerns, I guess, would be that the space is so small and that it's so far set back, the building, not the actual spot you're talking about. So the combination of those two things concern me, I guess.
No, and I understand, and I heard that the last time, but I think what I'm trying to argue in return is, wouldn't you be more unhappy as ZBA if I had built a second accessory structure, meeting all the setbacks and doing that, and built a 480 square foot, additional bedroom and did that? I mean, that's gonna potentially house more people, more potential cars parking on the property, more visual impact on the neighbors and on South Grand Island Drive. I mean, I think, to me, it forces me to have to build a new structure in order to meet the kind of the bedroom count issue that I'm talking about, or knock down my house and start again. And so, to me, this seems like a pretty good solution. And then regarding the other issue, to me, the fact that it's small, I mean, that 480 can't be for a bedroom minimum. It has to be an apartment, right? Whoever came up with the 480 must have been thinking of an apartment limit, minimum. A bedroom, 480 square foot bedroom is a very large bedroom.
It's 480 square foot sleeping quarters, right? It's not necessarily just a bedroom.
I have a quick question. Is that a working garage? Do you pull the car into that garage or? Okay.
No, and you probably, were you there for the first hearing?
I visited the property, but I was here for the first hearing and not for the work session, but I have visited the property.
Right, so our solution was, which is in our original proposal, is that we would, if we get granted approval from you guys, we'd obviously then seek the building permit. And what we would be doing in the building permit is that I would remove a door that exists between the cabana and the parking garage part, so that there's no entryway that connects where you can park a car with emissions, with the sleeping quarter. And that's required by New York state law. And so we tried to preempt that by saying, if you guys give us approval, we will wall that over. And of course, that's what I'll do. I'll apply immediately for a building permit and go ahead and have that work done.
Because that mitigates any concern about anything that's stored in the garage, like making its way into the sleeping quarters. Yes, okay.
But I don't use it as a parking garage. There's really not room to do that, and also put the garbage and the recycling and the bicycles and the.
Right, okay, thank you.
Chairs
Just
and
double checking.
whatever else is there. But can I ask you, Chairman, are there other scenarios that you would feel more comfortable with? Like if I expanded the size of I think that creates more problems, but nonetheless, I'd be open to suggestions.
I have nothing to offer you right now. I'm just thinking about your application and whatever the positives and the negatives of it.
In regard to the use of the space, you keep saying, overflow of your guests or your family. Do you have any plans to rent that space out?
No. And I think.
Would you be amicable to putting that as a condition in the resolution?
Not only would I be amicable to it, or amenable to it, in my application, we invited you to do that. You guys would be absolutely, I had zero interest in making this a separate second dwelling with any kind of cooking. I mean, this is not the room, even if I wanted to, but I would welcome you guys to specifically restrict this from ever being used as a second dwelling, a rentable unit, any, ever having a kitchen in there, et cetera.
You reside in the house?
I do.
You do. Year-round or?
Yes, I'm from Sagaponack. I was born and raised out here. I have a house in Sag Harbor. This was originally bought to create a rental property and rental income, but now I'm living here most of the time. I actually love it so much, and Sag Harbor has become kind of a.
So do you still rent the house or no?
I try and rent it a little bit in the summer just to make a little extra income, but no, otherwise I'm here.
Anyone else have any other questions? Bunch?
What about limiting how many months you can use it as a over use of sleeping quarters? Like 6 months out of the year?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of my planned use, I can't imagine it's really gonna be used more than in the summer. You know, it's because that's when there's gonna be more people there. When it's me using the house with my family, that's when I would be more likely to have guests come and kids and so on. Or whether I'm renting it out and somebody wanted to, you know, throw some kids in, you know, in the pool house. I really imagine it's gonna be a sort of seasonal use, i.e. summer use. I mean, all things equal, I prefer not to be restricted that way, but if that were necessary, you know, I would have to accept it. Just because, I mean, let's just say Christmas, like my family come for Christmas, so now I can't use that as a spillover guest room just because it's December, not July. I mean, it's not ideal. It just seems a little restrictive, but.
Anyone else? Thank you, Mr. Matheson. Anyone?
you.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry, did you have something?
Oh, no, I said thank you.
Oh, okay.
Can I just ask about I'm just trying to figure out, you know, my lawyer, John Bennett's not here tonight. So I'm just trying to figure out strategically whether I should try and, you know, have this adjourned so there's a chance to come back and continue the conversation, or what the process is. I mean,
Anyone
where
here?
we're going with this.
Anyone here feel like we're going to have to continue this?
I don't, I think you guys had a work session and I just wasn't present for it. And I think we all wanted to be together to
Yeah.
discuss it, yeah,
Okay.
so.
So I don't see a need to keep the hearing open. But we're going to open it up to the audience here, see if anybody else has any other commentary.
Okay, I guess the one thing I would ask in parting is that if we're closing the hearing, I'm just hoping I don't get a flat no on the sleeping quarters, and that if for whatever reason you can't approve the proposal as is, which I'm hoping you can, that there would be some interest in saying, well, if you did X, we could maybe, so I don't know where there'd be an opportunity to have that conversation, but.
Yeah, I don't know how much.
I mean, I think in the past, there's been circumstances where the specific relief sought was something that could be, you know, abbreviated, setbacks, for example, you know. Here, I think if you're talking about it like an out-of-the-box other idea altogether for finding space, I don't think the board can generate new ideas. You know, if it was an issue of like drawing a line where we're comfortable at X amount of feet versus something else, then I think maybe that's the kind of circumstance where that might happen. But here, if you're looking for, you know, a creative solution,
Yeah.
that's kind of not the board's role.
Yeah, no, in Sag Harbor, there's just, they kind of tend in certain directions. I would just say as a parting thing, if it's just a spillover bedroom, I don't think it needs to be much more than 200 square feet. So I understand that 480 is on the books, but in practical terms, if it's just a bedroom, 200 square feet is pretty substantial, and it's got a full bathroom. So anyway, thank you very much for
Thank you.
considering, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone in the audience that'd like to comment on this application? Anyone out in Zoom land want to comment on this application?
Good evening, Bailey Larkin with Bennett and Reed. Offices at 212 Windmill Lane in Southampton, representing Mr. Matheson. I just wanted to just remind the board a little of the public hearing, since it was several months ago now. I think it was back in May that Mr. Bennett was before the board previously on this application. And just point out a couple of things that are part of the record. I think Mr. Matheson did mention that there were several letters from the neighbors, including the abutting neighbors, saying that they didn't have any concern. We are here for dimensional relief for side yard setbacks. And the neighbors that are most affected by a reduction in side yard setbacks have stated that they don't have any concern with respect to including sleeping as a use within that proposed garage structure. And sorry, Alex, I don't know if you mentioned this already, but just to point out also, the way the cabana / sleeping quarters has been designed is to locate it central within the property so that the sleeping portion of the structure is actually going to comply with the 20-foot side yard setback. Although the overall structure doesn't comply, and that's why we're here, because it's only 8.4 feet off the property line. The portion that is closest to the property line and doesn't comply with setbacks will remain storage garage space. So the noise that would be a concern potentially for an accessory structure with sleeping is really not going to be as big of a concern. There's no windows on the side abutting the side property line. It's 20 feet off the property line, compliant with the village code. Although it is smaller than required by code, again, Mr. Matheson did mention it does have a full bathroom. And it is sufficient space for sleeping, which is a use that's permitted in this district. Obviously, if you meet dimensional requirements, and we're asking for some relief from dimensional requirements. This application will allow for sleeping on this property without the construction of additional structure. I believe it was mentioned at the last meeting, and I'm sorry, I wasn't at that meeting. There is a potential location for an additional structure to be right in front of the house, but it does comply with the town code. So in this instance, we're using an existing structure. We're not going to be constructing additional structures on the property. The living quarters will comply with side yard setbacks, even though it's in a structure that's non-conforming. And it's really just a light touch on the property to allow for a small amount of additional living space. I don't believe that anyone has spoken in opposition to this application. Again, there were neighbors that supported it, which tends to lend support for the application not having any impact on the character of the neighborhood. And I would submit that at this point, no real demonstration of any hardship has been shown or harm to the community by allowing this structure to be used as sleeping quarters. I think that's all I really had for the board, but thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in Zoom land? Anyone else here again? No? All right. I'd like to maybe get a motion to close the hearing, leaving it open to written correspondence until October 8th.
I'll make that a motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
Thank you for your consideration.
thank you. All right, next up, we have 74 Peconic Avenue, O'Sullivan. It's a continuation from all these things that keep coming back.
From July 23rd.
All right,
Good evening, Matt Sherman, Sherman Engineering and Consulting. I'm here with the property owners and their architect, again, reconvening this application from a couple of months ago. I'm not going to go through the whole presentation again, but just to give you a real quick recap. 74 Peconic Avenue, it's a half an acre piece of property. It's on the water side. There's about 3/10 of the property are landward, about 2/10 are seaward of the bulkhead. The house was built in 1953. 3-bedroom, 1 bath, just under 1,300 square feet plus a garage. It's 1-story at 13.5 feet high. As it was currently constructed, it's 55.9 feet from Peconic Avenue, 16.1 feet from North Silver Beach, which is a paper road on the side of the property, 55.7 feet from the bulkhead in the wetlands, and then 7.5 feet from the vacant property that's to the west. The proposed project is to keep the footprint as it currently exists, and keep the majority of the foundation. There's a small section on the road side of the house that's going to get new foundation. That is to help facilitate reconstruction of portions of the building that will allow for the second floor that we want to build.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yes.
So is the whole building coming down and just?
No, it's not, and I'll get to that in just a second. Perhaps, and I'll touch on it quick. The foundation has 3 different sections. There's a slab underneath the garage, there's a mechanical area in the middle, and then there's a crawl space on the western side. The majority of that is going to stay as is. The slab stays as is, a good portion of the mechanical room stays as is. The part that's crawl space is gonna get dug down to have, we would like to get 8 feet of headroom, we may not be able to because of our depth of groundwater, so we're assuming 7.5 feet of headroom is where we're gonna be able to get to. There's about a 4-foot wide, we're calling it a shelf, around the outside of that area where the crawl space is, so that the new foundation gets set in from the existing foundation and doesn't undermine the existing foundation in that crawl space area. So that's for the basement. For the first floor, the exterior walls are gonna remain. There's 3 bedrooms, 1 bath, and a kitchen and a dining living room in the first floor. The 2 bedrooms on the water side are gonna stay relatively similar to the way they are now. The 3rd bedroom, which is on the road side, is gonna turn into a bathroom. Where the existing bathroom is now, that turns into the staircase going up to the 2nd floor. That's why the 2nd floor was designed the way that it was and placed the way that it was to utilize that existing area to get access upstairs and to get access down to the basement. The existing kitchen is gonna remain pretty much the way it is now, just get rehabbed, slight interior configuration changes. And same thing for the existing dining room. There's a fireplace that's going to separate that area from the living room, which is where the existing garage is now. So the majority of the first floor remains as it currently is, with interior, some minor reconfiguring, and then some changing of windows. It's not being rebuilt by any means. It's being modified from what's there now. The existing roof comes off. On the west side, we put a flat roof on, and then above where the new stairway is going, in about the middle of the property, staircase goes up to the 2nd floor, and on the 2nd floor, we're getting 2 bedrooms, and each bedroom has a bathroom associated with it. So that's how the design was basically laid out. Pam Possible, so the architect had designed it to utilize that space, which pulls the 2nd floor in from the side yard line. Becomes another, the existing house is 7 feet from the side yard line. The proposed is 14 and change, so it brings it in another 7 feet from the existing distance from the side yard. And we go over to the front yard.
It brings in the 2nd floor, not.
The 2nd floor, exactly. And it brings the 2nd floor over to the 40-foot front yard setback of the proposed road, or the paper road, that's North Silver Beach.
It's a town landing.
Yeah, it's town landing, yeah. It's a landing, but it's a bulkhead, and it's.
Right, but it's always been a town landing.
Yeah, so it's a town road. So the new building is gonna be, depending on, how you count the square footage, with mechanical rooms, the staircase, the shelf in the basement and all that stuff, we're gonna be at about 3,500 square feet, a little bit over that. But when you take out the mechanical room and the things that don't count for square foot living area, we're down just below 3,000 square feet. So just 29 and change. The roof deck is gonna be at 11.8 feet above existing grade. The ridge of the proposed 2nd floor is gonna be 23 feet above the existing grade, the average existing grade. Code allows for 35 feet for that type of a roof. We're gonna be 23 feet, so significantly lower than code. The building plan is the same from what you saw last time we were here. There was some concern among the board members and some discussion with one of the neighbors about the design. One of the things that we took away from that was the swimming pool and the mechanical equipment. The property owners really wanted a swimming pool. They felt that it was a reasonable expectation for a residential property. That being said, they also recognize that trying to fit that in addition to the septic system, stormwater drainage, and everything else between the house and the road pushed it well into the front yard setback. And the board was clearly not as enthusiastic about that as we were. So they've decided to take that out of the application. So the swimming pool completely goes away, the pool equipment completely goes away. The AC equipment, or the HVAC equipment, because it is for heating and cooling, we originally had it on the west corner adjacent to the vacant lot. That property owner didn't want it over there. We respect that, so we pulled it over to the eastern corner, on the eastern corner of the house, adjacent to, it's within the front yard setback of North Silver Beach Road. But it's North Silver Beach Road, it's a paper road, town landing, so it's not gonna be infringing on anybody over there in that corner. There's, other than putting it right smack dab in the middle of the front yard, there's nowhere to put the AC equipment that would be conforming. Remember, we've got a 40-foot front yard setback that comes in from Peconic Avenue, and we've got a 100-foot wetland setback, and those two meet in the middle on the property line. So if we stayed 100 feet from the wetlands and we stayed 40 feet from the front yard setback, there's zero building envelope on this property. So that's, in a nutshell, where the application is. The building has remained as we previously previously proposed it. We've taken the swimming pool off, we've taken the pool equipment out, we've moved the mechanical equipment away from the neighbor that was not happy with that. This property does have 2 front yard setbacks. It's an exceedingly small piece of property. There's zero building envelope when you take the 100-foot wetland setback along with the zoning setbacks. So utilizing the existing footprint, it seems to be the best way to go to get a little bit extra living room and living space in this building.
Anyone have any questions for Matt right now?
Yeah, Matt, can you tell me more about the roof deck?
Yes. It is, it's about, it's 10 feet wide, coming over from the east side of the house, the west side of the house, going over toward that vacant lot. It's a, typical deck. It's got a 3-foot safety railing around it. It's accessed through the interior of the house, coming from the bedrooms. There's, as far as non-conformity, it's 241 square feet of deck, and that's all within that setback. It's above the first floor, which is 7.5 feet from the side yard property line, and it goes to the second floor addition, which is at 17.4 from the side yard line.
Thank you.
Yep, you are. And the neighbors, you wish that everyone would love everything as much as you do. But we recognize that the neighbors did have concern about the deck. They did have concern about the way that they use the vacant lot next door. And they do have like a small fire pit and some chairs set up. And it's about the middle of the property, a little bit towards our side of the property. And it's a little bit seaward of where the front of our house is. So we are proposing plantings along the side. One of the things that we provided the board was some better renderings that better represented what those plantings would look like to help screen the neighboring property from this roof deck and from the.
Do we have a list of those somewhere?
We don't have a vegetation list, I don't believe.
It was in there.
In the very first one?
It's in the
first application, yeah.
So it's same as the first pack.
Yeah, so the rendering that we provided was a visual representation of what those plantings from Christian Clark were. So what we end up having then is some vegetation screening there. It's a double-edged sword. You don't want to screen so much that you can't see out that way and take advantage of the views, but at the same time, you don't want to be imposing on the neighbor, and when you're sitting there relaxing on your deck, you don't want to have the neighbor imposing on you. So we tried to come up with a plan that was a happy medium between keeping it open and keeping the views reasonably obstructed, but not completely obstructed, and then not infringing on the neighbor's use of their property.
Anyone else have a question for Matt?
And the property owner would like to say a few things too.
Thank you.
I'm Cordelia Sullivan, and here with my husband, Pierre Papillon. We should perhaps have introduced ourselves at the first hearing. This is our first time going through the process, and we didn't know exactly how it worked. We wanted to give a little bit of background information about ourselves and some context for our application that's in front of you. I've been on Shelter Island my entire life and have lots of family here. Pierre and I bought our first house on the island in 1997, which was one of two century-old sister barns over on Rocky Point Road, also a fixer-upper. We did extensive renovations of that property, maintaining the existing footprint, preserving as much of the building's original elements and character as we possibly could. We lived there for 28 years up until purchasing Peconic Avenue. The house on Rocky Point Road was wonderful. The renovation was such a success that Reed Karen tried to talk us out of selling it. He thought we would regret it. But Pierre and I were ready for something smaller. We're very conscious of the modest size of both the house and the property at 74 Peconic Avenue. And we're not looking to replace it with something 4 times the size. We are looking to bring the house up to the best current efficiency standards, and most importantly, to make it work for our family of 5. We have 3 children, and Shelter Island is and always has been our home base. It's where we're together as a family. Pierre and I also both work from home. To that end, we hope to add 1 bedroom and 2 bathrooms to the existing house, a relatively modest 1,022 new square feet of built space. We love the house as it is, and our plans seek to preserve as much of it as possible while updating its systems, the non-existent insulation, and the windows. We very much want to keep both the footprint and the existing layout as is, both for aesthetic and budget reasons. We also want to preserve its mid-century character, which was so integral to the Silver Beach community when it was conceived. Besides the house's setting, it's what attracted us to it in the first place. The house, if you haven't had a chance to see it, is compact. It's super well laid out with no wasted space. We plan to keep the kitchen intact and reuse the wonderful original pine cabinet tree. Within its floor plan, Pam labored to find a way to add the extra bedroom and bathrooms. And our original thinking was to stack them directly above the existing 2. I think you all have the plans in front of you. That would have allowed us to keep the peaked living room ceiling and the beams. But Matt and Pam pointed out that this would have put the new space close to the property line and the empty lot next door. Pam sought ways to push the partial second floor inwards away from the line. With her design, she was able to squeeze the staircase into what is currently the only bathroom, and thereby push the new second floor inwards to 17.5 feet from the westerly property line instead of the 7.5 feet of the existing first floor. There was truly only one way to make this work while keeping the first floor layout intact, and that's what you see in the application. Karen and I were super pleased that the planning board recognized the intelligence of her plan and called it, I quote, an exemplar of modestly staying within the building envelope or pre-existing structures within the wetlands alongside mitigation efforts. This is our goal. In addition to keeping the scale modest, the house will be a model of energy efficiency. We've been consulting with Geologic, the passive house company based in Maine, on both the design and construction of the proposed renovation, and plan to implement as much passive house technology as possible. This will include a fully sealed insulation envelope, an air circulation system that captures warm air and reuses it, as well as triple glazed windows. By adopting these systems, passive houses eliminate much of the heating and cooling demands of a standard house. In addition to these measures, we'll replace the existing septic system with a new recommended IA system. We will augment the grasses in the vegetative buffer abutting the bulkhead and add approved native plantings around the house, both to lessen its environmental impact on the site and screen it from the neighbors' views. We heard your concerns with our original application. We listened to the neighbors' concerns and sought them out to discuss further. We've subsequently made several significant changes to the application and hope that this will allay much of those concerns. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else wish to weigh in here?
Pam Pospisil, architect. Just want to say,
Pam, guy, come on.
I don't have anything to say because I don't want to beat a dead horse, but I just wanted to offer my presence if the board has any questions about the plans.
I have a quick question for you, Pam. Had you thought at all, I understand the house isn't like a perfect rectangle as it sits, but putting the area that intrudes more into the setback on the paper road side than on the side where there's an actual neighbor.
I considered every possible permutation that exists. The stair becomes a giant problem for us in terms of that, locating it. The living room space is not large, introducing the stair. The most logical place to put that stair is in that northwest corner. We give up the bedroom, which would we be replacing up above. That was not on the table. We knew that we couldn't do that. So I shifted it to the place that it did the least damage to the existing footprint of the building. And that was where that little bathroom existed. I did look at, in all honesty, I looked at every opportunity that I had to place the stair, and the only location that it really worked was where that bathroom was. And if, a little bit easier to see on this, if, just have to find the right page. Bear with me 1 second. And I don't know if I made the graphics dark enough for you, but this is the only zone of the entire project that requires a variance, other than a couple of minor deck issues that were raised, were identified with Matt's plan. So I think we did a good job. I think it's as modest as I could possibly make it in terms of our request for a variance. And I honestly could not come up with a better location for that stair. Clearly, I understand where your question comes from, Matt. We have less impact on anybody if we're building on this side, but it does not work in terms of the layout for the public space of the house itself.
Thank you. Anyone else have any other questions for Pam or Courtney?
No.
I guess I have one in terms of the design. Pam, maybe this is for you, or Matt. In terms of that deck, I mean, I clearly, obviously, you shifted the second story over, so you had a flat roof to use. But was there any thought or rendering of having that deck facing the water side instead of on that side in some way?
Flat roof is the flat roof.
Yep.
We could divide it in half and say, oh, you're only going to use the water half, but the rest is still there, and it's still going to be overlooking the neighbor to the extent that it is as the full width of the building. I think that, and I know the board has no way to guard against how that deck is used, but it's off of a bedroom. I think the goal here was to gain that beautiful western sunset. I think at most, somebody's gonna go up there and have a glass of wine, or somebody's gonna step out of the bedroom and get a little sunshine. But it's not a deck that's gonna be used for parties and public, bringing all the guests up there. It's just not what the intent is. And I know the board can't guard against that. I mean, we say that, but you have no way of knowing if we're telling the truth. But that is the truth. It's gonna have minimal use. It's gonna be for just the family to enjoy that sunset for a few minutes as the sun is going down.
Thank you.
The only access to that deck is through the bedroom?
Right at the top, no, there is a door from the bedroom, there's a door right at the top of the stair as well. So whoever, their daughter, the bedroom that's designated there, it's their daughter's, they won't have to go through the daughter's bedroom to get out and enjoy the sunset. But, so yes, there are two points of access to the deck.
Anyone else?
No.
Thank you, Pam. Anyone in the audience want to comment on this application? Anyone in Zoom land wish to comment on this application? No? Everybody feel like we can close this? Can I have a motion to close the hearing? I think we'll close it and keep it open for written correspondence until October 8th.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next up, we have our first hearing of the night.
Yeah.
5 Mark Street, Hunter One Realty, Inc. Christina, will you read us the notice or a synopsis of the notice?
Hearing of the application of the Hunter One Realty, Inc., owner of 5 Mark Street, Chalk Island, New York, which is located in Zone C, as more specifically described on the Suffolk County Tax Map at 700-15-4-16. The applicant wishes to convert existing non-conforming storage and setbacks to a single-family residential dwelling and is seeking area variance from South Island Town Code Section 133-10B5A and B to hold 4 feet rear yard setback where 10 is required, and to hold 9 feet side yard setback where 10 feet is required, and to hold 25.7 feet front yard setback where 30 is required.
Okay,
Sherman Engineering and Consulting. I'm here on behalf of property owners who are here in the audience tonight. This application is for a conversion of an existing building. It's 5 Mark Street, C-zone. There's a 30-foot front yard setback, 10-foot side yard setback and rear yard setback. We've got a quick presentation. Go over here. And I'm not gonna belabor the point too much, but will. So this is the survey of the property. Just to give you a lay of the land, Mark Street, down here to the southeast. You've got your 30-foot front yard setback off of Mark, and then your 10-foot side and rear yard setbacks. This is an old barn that was there. How old is that barn?
Quite old.
Well, okay, yeah. It predates my history of the property. And in the mid-2000s, I actually worked for the previous property owner, and we'd gotten a health department approval in order to redevelop this site, keep the barn as it was, as just a storage barn, put a house up in what would have been the northwest corner, swimming pool in the middle, and the septic system down on the northeast corner. And that application to that project just kind of died on the vine. Nothing ever really happened with it. Then recently, the current property owner acquired the property. Between that time, when we'd worked on the health department design for it, and the current owner acquiring it, the previous owner had gotten an application and approval from the town building department to basically rehab the structure. Rebuild the foundation, rehab the existing barn. The building, the permit, or the building permit itself says replace in kind and in place. That didn't happen. So the previous owner had expanded the building. The footprint, for the most part, stayed the same. There's some confusing changes that are very minimal, but there's still some changes from how it previously existed. But you'll see in a second, I've got some photographs and some other information. The facade changed, the elevations changed. Most of the changes are in areas that are conforming, but there's still changes. So this is the application plan that's in front of you now. That's the same survey we just had on the last slide. A proposed site plan, which I'll have a bigger version of here in just a second. In the existing basement, it's a walk-in basement, walking in from Mark. You've got a proposed garage, unfinished storage and a small laundry room. There's 73 square feet of living space in the basement, which is basically that laundry room. On the first floor, we got a bedroom and then typical, residential development, bathroom, closet, a small office, dining room, a kitchen, and a living room. Then as you go up to the second floor, there's a 3 bedrooms and a family room. You got 2 bathrooms on the second floor. So this is a 1962 aerial photograph of the area.
Matt, it shows three bathrooms on the second
On
floor.
the second floor, we've got, yes, I'm sorry, I thought one was closet. Yeah, so 3 bathrooms on the second floor, 1 bathroom on the first floor. This is the 1962 aerial photo. You can see St. Mary's Road running right up and down here. You can't really see my cursor too well there. Off of St. Mary's Road, you've got the church. The barn is shown there. The house for the barn is between it and St. Mary's, just a little bit to the southwest of the barn. This is where, Punch, you were talking earlier about your lot buggies. I'm assuming you were in this area?
No, I wasn't that clean.
You're not
I was
that-
older. We were somewhere else.
Okay. So this is just some relatively recent photographs of the property. I don't have any property photographs of it in the early 2000s when, prior to this work being done, so we don't really have anything to compare it to, which is, leaves us with a little bit of a question mark. But when the previous owner had done the renovations, they had renovated most of the foundation, and I'll show you a photograph here in a second of the block, the existing combination block and poured foundation, as well as what appears to be part of the original foundation on the western side. So this is, again, looking at it from Mark Street. This punch out here is the area where that, you walk in, there's like a living room, dining room area. In the basement, you got the garage and then the storage area behind. This is looking at it from the side yard. So this is that poured foundation. That was clearly what was done in the mid-2000s. And then to the left-hand side, there's an older section. The pictures unfortunately don't really do it justice. But this is if you're standing in the side yard looking basically north toward the building, with Mark Street on your right-hand side and the church on your left-hand side. So this section of foundation closer to the church appears to be significantly older than the part that's closer to Mark Street. And this is looking back down toward Mark Street. And here's a better picture of that older section of foundation. So it's clearly not anything that was done in the mid-2000s. It significantly predates that. And that's underneath this section of the building, which is the section that's closest to the church. And just some pictures of it. The building's in, we'll say, tender shape. It's been sitting vacant for the better part of 20 years, and it's showing signs of wear. It's certainly fixable. The eaves are fairly true and straight. The building, it's plumb, it's level. It needs some help to be brought up to current standards, but it's not heroic by any means.
And to convert this to residential, Matt, they'd be subject to today's building.
Yeah, so they would have to go back in and make sure that the hurricane strapping, ties, all that kind of stuff was done properly. They'd have to deal with insulation, energy code compliance, all that kind of thing. The building permit, like I said, when it was pulled, it was basically for an in-place, in-kind replacement. So there weren't. As a barn, right. So there weren't any kind of inspections done to see what was done as far as hurricane straps and T-codes and things like that. So there would be some disassembly that would be required here to see if things were strapped properly from first floor to second floor and foundation to first floor. So they would have to go back and do some pulling of siding and some interior deconstruction.
But there's no demolition plan here.
No, there's not. No, because it's going to be very selective. It's, we're not looking to go in there and tear the thing down. That's the whole idea of this application, is they don't want to have to tear it down. They want to be able to take this existing structure that's been there forever and basically continue what the previous owner had done, but continue it the right way, continue with the proper permits.
I can safely say that building probably been there 80 years or more. It's been there as long as I've been alive, when I was a little boy. It was a strawberry farm, belonged to the house. It went all the way down to Clement Ricketts Street. Henry Wazinski owned it. He did strawberries and other vegetables.
So we've already submitted to the health department. They've given us a cursory review. They won't take it to a final review until we get ZBA approval. But so this is the health department plan, turning the building into a residence with bedrooms, a small swimming pool. The well is on basically the western property line, closer to that southwest corner. And the IA septic is just to the north of the house, and then the leaching pool goes up to the north of the septic. We can fit everything in with a reduced septic to well separation that's possible in this area because of the depth of the supply wells. This was that original health department approval that I had mentioned earlier. This was done in 2007. Basically keeping it as a barn and putting the house up in that northwest corner up over here. That's pretty much the project. The idea of what we're focusing on here is that the building as it currently exists or as it previously existed was a non-conforming storage building. Same setbacks, a C-zone, so whether it's a single-family residence or whether it's a storage barn, it's still the same amount of non-conformity. You're just changing what is conforming and what's non-conforming. By getting an approval here, what we do, the benefit is we utilize a building that's already there. We don't create a new building on site, and we don't change the non-conformity. We just change what is non-conforming.
It was all one piece one time.
Yeah, that whole area, yeah. Yeah, that's why it's 9 feet from the property line, and when they made those property lines, the zoning code wasn't around.
No, it wasn't.
Anyone else have any questions for Matt?
No, I don't think so.
Tom? Punch?
So there's a total of 5 baths,
Let me see.
2 on the main floor?
Hold on a second, let me pull it up.
I see one on the name. Oh, no. One is marked. And one.
Yeah, 1.5. There's a half bath by the front door, yeah.
Yeah.
So 1 full bath on the first floor, 1, 2, 3 full baths on the second floor.
1.5.
Okay. And you got that punch out that has the entrance with the kitchen and dining room behind it, and a small office. You've got, the living area and the family room up on the second floor.
Matt, do you have and I might have just missed it, do you have the square footage of the pieces that you're looking for?
Oh, how much is non-conforming?
Yeah. I know we have the distances, but I'm just looking for the square footage.
Yeah, on the west side, it's just over 100 square feet in the setback.
Okay,
And then over on Mini Drive, you've got 22.3 square feet in the setback.
22.3.
Yeah. Yeah, it's in the, on the proposed site plan in the lower corner of the big drawing.
in the little, yeah.
Yeah, just that one corner.
Yeah, yeah.
No, I just want to make sure we had the square footage numbers in front of us.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Anyone else have any questions? You may think we're missing anything here? Matt,
Thank you, Matt.
thank you. Anyone else who'd like to comment on the application? No? Anyone in Zoom land wish to comment on the application? Anybody feel like we can close this one? All right, and I have a motion to close the hearing. We'll keep it open to written correspondence until October 8th.
Okay, motion.
Second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much, we appreciate it.
Thank you.
And I'm going to, can I get a motion to close the meeting?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.